to today's program, The Social Network. I'm joined by my co-host Miriam and our guest Leonard. And today we are going to talk about how social media has influenced mainstream media in terms of consumption of news.
Absolutely, apps like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, we're going to get more information on how they inform people. We're going to get more information on misinformation, AI use, and our guest here will be elaborating more on that. So, Leonard,
Yes.
introduce yourself.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Leonard Obengo. I am a social media expert, currently working at one of the top companies in the country, and I am glad to be here.
Well, that's good. So, as she has introduced our topic, today we're going to see how social media has connected us or disconnected us. And just to begin, can you even tell us the issues that you think social media should address or ignore?
Okay, there are a lot of issues that social media should address. And one thing that we are currently working on, I mean, it's even global, it's about the ethical concerns that come in with social media. So I think that's one issue that is still a work in progress, and it's going to take some time, but ethical concerns are very vital in social media because people come into social media with their own intentions. Some are not good. So ethics is definitely one issue that is being addressed at the moment. It might take some time, but eventually we'll get there. And you also asked which issues should be ignored.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any issue that needs to be ignored. Everything is going to be taken into consideration as we move forward with social media. You know, there are advancements, AI. So everything is taken into consideration, but what we're most concerned about is the ethics when it comes to social media. Yeah.
All right. And having in mind that everyone now, right away as we speak, they are in the social media. Anyone can post, anyone can create a content, and this content sometimes you find them they are misinforming people. Do you think that there is a need for a limitation for them, those who should handle social media and stuff? Because you find that everyone now they are capable of creating a content, and we don't know if this content is true or false because they have smartphones. Everyone is having a smartphone. So maybe you can tell us maybe of an information or what should be done to put a limit, if I can say, for them those should post in the social media just to reduce the misinformations we have.
Yeah, okay, social media is huge.
Yeah.
I have done my research, and social media right now we're talking about all these platforms like TikTok,
Sure.
Instagram, even WhatsApp, and any other platform that people are using on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So when we talk about misinformation, we are trying to bring in fact-checking platforms that can help people verify information before disseminating it to other people.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult to manage the whole system as it is because it is wide. And what we do at the moment with the fact-checking is before any information is released on a social media platform, we ensure that it is first of all fact-checked with the relevant sources, and if any issues of illegalities are detected, then that information is not released out, or people also have the option of reporting such things. And to all social media users, it is very important to first of all fact check any information you find on social media before posting it, because it might also lead you to some legal issues that
Sure,
you cannot be able to account for. Yeah. So apart from that, we know the fact checking. We are also working with all the social media platforms to ensure that any information that is put out there does not put anyone in danger or does not incite people in any way to do anything that is not right in the society.
Yeah, back to Jones.
Yeah, so Leonard, you've talked about fact checking and ethical concerns that have risen in the social media age. And now my question is, with the rise of social media, we've also seen the rise of influencers and also public figures. Like in Kenya, State House has a TikTok account, and also mainstream media houses like Citizen, KTN, they also have social media accounts. So how do these people play a role in shaping news consumption and the news narrative on social media?
Public figures and influencers, those are tough ones for us to handle due to their influence to the public. Of course, they usually come into the space with a perception of dominance. People are, whether they are politicians, they are entertainers, they come in with a perception of they already have a following. And yeah, they actually do have a following, but now there's this whole issue of how they use that following to their advantage. Some come in and try and incite their followers to believe in certain things, and us as social media observers and people who work day to day in ensuring that social media is handled the right way, we cannot really decide for someone what to believe in. So it's usually just a matter of what the audience themselves will choose to take in and what they will choose to not take in.
Yeah.
But public figures are very dominant in social media. We are still finding ways to try and regulate how they come into that space. They come in to influence. Especially, we are having a lot of problems with Twitter, X.
Yeah.
There are people have opinions out here, and
Sure.
once people have set opinions in their mind, we have a hard time ensuring that their opinion do not escalate and bring more problems in the current world that we live in. As people who work with social media platforms, we will advise every public figure, every influencer to please use social media for the right reasons.
Sure.
You have that opportunity, you have that power to go in, but do not use it to incite people in the wrong way. That is just a matter of ethics and how a person is in terms of their thinking. Yeah.
And just a follow-up question. Being that we have people following influencers and public figures, do you think algorithm plays a role in the type of information people consume?
Definitely. Actually, that's the basis of it all. Most social media platforms just use algorithms. They will feed their users with the exact same thing that they ask for. If you are on TikTok and the algorithm detects that you are into maybe entertainment, you're into politics, then it will most definitely feed you what you consume. So that is more of on the other side of the creators of those platforms, only to generate traffic in those platforms. So yeah, algorithms do play a role in social media, and they are the basis of what a person consumes. So in case you've been getting a certain type of content very often, just know that there's an algorithm that has been designed to feed you with that content. Yeah.
All right. And then, Leonard, we've seen the introduction of AI dominating the current new journalist, if I can say.
Yeah.
Where do you see the future of media in terms of journalistic arts and stuff in the near future? Let's say like in the coming 3 years, where do you see where are we heading to? Because we're saying AI is replacing human. Yeah.
I mean, I can't really say for now, but AI definitely has its power, and it is evident in how students in schools or even organizations choose to do their work. Well, in media specifically, as much as I don't have a lot of knowledge there, all I can say is right now people are, the way people have podcasts. There was a time when there was a former reporter the person went live on Twitter, and he was able to generate a larger audience than compared to a real-time broadcast house or media company. So is AI going to replace human beings? That is a question that we will have to see. As time goes by, we will have to see how AI continues to progress. But as far as I'm concerned right now, there are things that AI cannot achieve on its own, just as the same way that there are things that human beings cannot achieve on their own. You know, AI doesn't have emotions, it cannot reason in the same way that a human being can reason, but at the end of the day, it still has potential to actually replace human beings. Lately, we've been having a lot of stories about, even, I can say even in the film industry, there are a lot of films coming out about AI, some people using AI as a personal helper in their homes. Then the AI turns against them. You know, there are all those theories, but at the end of the day, there is a thin line between AI and human beings. It cannot exactly come in and replace human beings 100%, but we shall see.
We shall see, as he says. That's all about what we can say, and we're going for a short break, and we will be back for our next session.
Welcome back to the social network, and we were discussing on how social media has affected consumption of news in the mainstream media platforms. And now to Leonard, we've talked about AI and how it is coming up in mainstream media and journalism as a whole. So now my question is, do you think the audience should be informed if the reporter they are seeing on screen is the real person, or if it is AI, or do you think the mainstream media or whichever platform should just keep that to themselves?
I think in that case, every audience needs transparency, and for a mainstream media, it is very important that they remain transparent. So they will definitely need to communicate such changes to the audience, because you know every audience can tell whether a reporter is a human being or has been improvised to become an AI. So I will say for mainstream media there is need for transparency. Otherwise, if you go to social media, there are so many videos of AI reporting, or even just there's this voice modulations people use. There's so many of them. So I will say in that case, then for media houses there is need for transparency. For social media, then it's usually just a matter of someone choosing to find out whether it is a human being or an artificial intelligence.
That's good. And back to you, Leonard. We've seen many incidences happening, and for the sake of public opinion, we need to get to know. There are many news, if I can say them, I'm quoting my words. There are many stories that we're not getting informed, but they're happening, especially when it comes to these big people in the government and stuff. How do you think that should be treated for the sake of public opinion?
For the sake of public opinion, well, I think that depends on whoever is disseminating the news. That actually is out of my field, because I believe there is something called framing. News outlets can choose how they frame news, or which news to deliver to the public, or which news to keep themselves. So I think that will really just go back to media houses and how they choose to operate. Yeah.
Back to you. The reason I'm asking this is because just the other day we've seen that there are stories that are happening and they are being published on these social media platforms like TikTok. You just scrolling your phone and then you're finding a story and you've never heard it. Let's say over someone who is big, the government, and you find their stories being published there, and then you keep asking yourself, when did this happen? Again, back to the social media platforms. For the sake of public opinions, for the sake of the public opinion, what's the people of the nation, if I can say the public, what they want to hear? You finding that such a story has been published. They also have their own stories. They have a feedback. They have something to say about the same story. We also have the same people who published them having a story to tell. All these things, and as we had said earlier, misinformation is happening here. That's why I'm asking, how do you feel that you as an expert, how do you feel that these things should be treated? Because when we find a story in the social media, we will not fail to believe, because yeah, it's here. Yeah.
Well, to answer your question, first of all, in all my years of experience, one thing I've come to learn is that people should develop their own sources of information. You know, it's much easier to have a source of information. For example, you know, maybe even a content creator or someone who's online and, you know, shares news about something. There are some who are doing it genuinely, and there's some who are not doing it genuinely.
Yeah.
Why don't people or consumers of such things look for specific sources that are trustworthy, that have also been that have been regulated and that are trusted to deliver information? If I'm trying to find out about politics, why don't I have a specific place where I just retrieve information from, instead of just scattering online and anything that I find, I believe, you know? It also comes back to people, the audience.
Yeah.
Do not just be naive while you're on social media.
Sure.
Find a trusted source, one that is prominent, that can be verified, and consume information, certain information specifically from those sources. Otherwise, if it's other things, then you can also find other places of consuming them. So just as you were saying, I feel as if people should try and find particular places to take information that they need, instead of having a general view of social media, because there is a lot of room for misinformation, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic and all these events that have occurred over the years. Information has been tampered with, has been messed with, so people should have specific sources where they get information from.
Right.
Yeah. Now, Leonard, I think this is the final question on my end. Being that people spend a lot of time on social media, and now we find mainstream media networks or mainstream media platforms, they want to make themselves to be felt. They want to make their presence felt on social media, and they try to keep up with trends that are ongoing. Like the current one right now is the Ashton Hall. I don't know if you've seen it. Yeah, so my question is, do you think mainstream media should be immersed in the ongoing trends in order to attract a larger audience, or should they stick to their ethics?
They should be immersed. Simple as that. You know, as time goes by, things have to change, and you cannot use the same methods you've used in the past and expect people to still adapt to them. As time goes by, people need to find ways of blending in with the new technologies that come. I can say for sure, as a person who has been there for a long time, mainstream media should definitely try and adapt to the new ways, because people are moving from the way they used to consume news to the new ways. So if you stick to the way you used to do things in the past, then people are going to move on to something better. And that's why, actually, if you look around, most podcasts or, you know, other people who are coming up and doing their own personal streams on social media are attracting large audiences, because that is the new method. People find it much easier. So mainstream media should look into how they can also adapt with the times as they go by, because if you do not change with the way things are changing, then people will find other sources of news, and that's how companies fall. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's good of you, Leonard. And maybe as we finalize, you can give your final remarks about the whole thing we've talked of, miscommunication, the AI, those things.
Well, all I can say for now is, to the people watching, find a trusted source. Find somewhere where you can depend on for news that you actually need. Otherwise, if you're on social media looking for entertainment, do it ethically. When you're giving people content, make sure it is within the regulated guidelines that have been put in place. Otherwise, social media is a place where you have fun and do what you love to do. So let's not turn it into something that is unconducive for other people. Yeah.
Thank you. As Zia said, that find the right sources that you can get information from, and it's good to be informed. So I've been your host, Miriam.
And I've been your host, Greenell.
Thank you.